I first knew that I wanted to be a scientist the summer of my junior year in college. I was doing summer research in North Carolina, and I was wandering along the halls of the physics building, and I happened upon two wild physics professors. And they were having a conversation, and I don't remember exactly what they were talking about. It was probably some recent physics discovery like the Higgs boson or neutrino oscillations or something like that. But I was most struck by the way that they were having their conversation. They were talking about this in such a casual manner. They could have been talking about what they had for dinner or what their weekend plans were. But no, they were talking about the future of an entire subdiscipline of science. And I was struck by the way that they could talk about such a grandiose thing so casually. And I knew that I wanted to be the kind of person that could do that, have those same kinds of conversation and do that. So I knew then that I wanted to be a scientist. Specifically, I wanted to be a physicist. So fast forward, thanks. Yeah. So fast forward 2 years, I'm enrolled in graduate school here at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And I'm taking really cool courses with names that sound awesome, like Introduction to Particle Physics and Group Theory, and these really cool things. And I get to have conversations with my friends, like, why and how does a light bulb work? Which sounds like a really easy question to answer, but when you dig down into the physics of it, comes up with some really cool ways that why we know that light bulbs let out light. So even though I'm having these conversations about these complex ideas, do I feel like a scientist? Not really. But that's okay. We fast forward another year, and now I'm in a research group. So I can apply the things that I learned in class to activities in the lab. I can solve problems with the equations that I've been learning. And I have my own machine that I can use to spin polarized electrons. That sounds cool, right? And the idea of this machine is that I can help to answer a question of why life as we know it exists on this earth. But do I feel like a scientist? Can I lie to myself to make me feel better? But if I'm at this point in my graduate career and I don't feel like a scientist, will I ever feel like a scientist? Do I even belong? It's among these happy questions that one of my office mates walked up to me and asked me, would you be interested in babysitting a dog for 3 months? There are a number of decisions that go into me deciding what I will say to this. The first is my roommate okay with it? I'm not a completely ignorant person. I want to make sure that he's okay. The second is I'm a single 26-year-old guy who spends most of my time in the lab, and girls like dogs, right? So this could be a way that I could meet somebody, right? So whatever the decision, I decided to say yes, and it was me deciding to say yes that led to my first experience of actually feeling like a scientist. So fast forward 3 weeks, now I'm taking care of a dog. His name is Ranger. He is a very mild-mannered pit bull lab mix, and things are going great. It's fun. And then about 2 hours later, reality sets in. My major problem is that there's a communication barrier. So Ranger will bark at me. Does it mean I want to go for a walk? I want food? Or just play with me? I have no idea. And sometimes I do all three things, and he still wants my attention for some reason. I don't know. The other major problem that I have is that my schedule was no longer my own. I have to go home every night at the same time so that I can walk Ranger, and I have to wake up at 6 in the morning so that I can give him a walk every day. And that works against me as a graduate student, because sometimes you have to stay late and work in the lab. And so I was really frustrated by this at first, but then I had an idea. I realized that since I was going and walking Ranger at the same time each morning and each night, that I effectively had a control variable. So I could use my walks with Ranger as a way to explore the world around me. I could count the number of people that I see walking around as I'm walking the dog, and then get a measure of the activity in Lincoln as a function of time. I could track the price of gas and see how it fluctuates as I walk by the gas station and note the price and see how it fluctuates on a weekly and monthly basis. I made a spreadsheet to record all of these values. As I'm walking the dog, I pull out my phone and I make notes so that I don't forget the numbers as I get home. And at the peak of my involvement with this, I had the brilliant idea that I could measure Ranger's metabolism. I can measure the amount of food that I feed him, and then I can measure his output. So I would clean up after Ranger as I'm walking him, take it home, measure it on the kitchen scale. I kid you not, I did this. It was sanitary though. I'm considerate to my roommate. And I measured Ranger's output. Now, if this were a movie, this is the point where I would show you a beautiful graph of the data that I collected and tell you about how I published a paper about all of this research. That's not the case. My life isn't a movie. What actually happened is after the third time of me collecting Ranger's output, I realized that some questions are the effort required to answer those questions just isn't worth the trouble. So, though this experiment failed, I realized something. This is something that I do all of the time, and I really enjoy doing. I come up with a question. Usually my questions are related to food. And then I collect data on that, which usually means eating food, which is also good. And then come up with an answer to the question. So an example of this is I had the idea that I could save money on Valentine's Day candy each year by buying Valentine's Day candy after Valentine's Day, then waiting a year, and then giving it to people. And the answer is no, it doesn't work. The candy does degrade significantly in that time period. So what I realized was that my concept of what a scientist was had gotten confused with the public perception of what a scientist is. Being a scientist isn't about the conversations that I have. It isn't about the knowledge that I gain, and it's not about the equations that I use. Being a scientist is about asking questions and collecting data in a methodical way so that you can get an answer to those questions. And this is something that I do all the time, and I really enjoy doing. And it took me a long time and a little bit of dog poop to figure this out. But what I realized, thanks to Ranger, is that even though as a graduate student in physics, I do science every day, it's in doing everyday science that I first felt like a real scientist.